The Brothers of Liberty, here to remind you what true freedom is. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Brothers of Liberty with the older brother Kelton. Today topic, Dave Chappelle. Yes, you knew I was going to do one. If you saw some of my other videos about the woke culture, I love just stating my opinion about the woke culture. And I'm waiting for one of them to see my videos and say I need to be canceled because my disdain for the woke culture. But I also have TikTok, Rumble, and several other platforms, including my blog site. So you may cancel me on one thing, but the likelihood of getting me on several things is very unlikely. Dave Chappelle, some of his comedy, in my opinion, can go a little too far, but as a supporter of the First Amendment, freedom of speech, and as a person who loves a good comedy and a good comedian, it's his right to talk about what he wants to talk about in his comedies. If you don't like it, don't watch it. It's as simple as that. That's what we did in the 90s. We didn't like somebody or didn't want to watch somebody. Click, next channel. But you want to take it a step further and say, just because we don't like it, you now can't talk about it. We're going to ban you from saying anything. And that's what we disagree on. There's a reason this is called the Brothers of Liberty for a reason. We believe in freedom of speech for all to talk on their viewpoints, not just the right, not just the left, not just the center, but everybody. And yes, why we may lean towards the right side of the field, even though we've criticized both sides, um, we're always going to be about liberty. We grew up in the 90s where the left and right actually worked together. And in the 90s, under President Clinton, who was a Democrat president, and under a Republican Congress, we actually had a surplus of money flowing in. Look it up if you don't believe me. Because they knew back then that people needed to work together. In the 80s, people worked together. Tip O'Neill, Democrat. Ronald Reagan, Republican. They worked together for the betterment of the United States. Now, the left and the right are so far apart that their main goal is to divide us and not work together so they can have their own agendas. You ever wonder why Bush and Obama's are so close together, but during the political expression they were far apart? And so comedy should be the least of your worries. Dave Chappelle's a comedian. Mel Brooks a comedian. Richard Pryor, Chris Rock, Eddie Murphy. The list goes on and on. Sherman Hemsley, Carol, I can't think of his last, Carol Connor, I think his name was. Archie Bunker. All these people with controversy during their day. And that's what comedy's always been about. Dave Chappelle, his first movie, if not his first movie, one of his first movies, was in a Mel Brooks movie. Robin Hood, Men in Tights. Guaranteed Today will not be shown in the theaters. Blazing Saddles will not be shown in the History of the World, oh my goodness, will not be shown in the theaters. Because the few get offended very easily. And we're not catering to the few. Everybody want to say it's always a democracy that you should listen to the popular vote. Well, guess what? Take your own advice. Because the majority are watching it, not the few. But you don't want to take your own advice. You want to force everything you believe in on everybody else and expect us to cater to a small group. As a person who believes in the Constitution, everybody has individual freedom. It is your freedom to change the channel if you don't like what someone is talking about in their comedy. But don't tell a comedian he has to change his ways for you. Don't tell a person they have to change their ways for you. Don't say they're transphobic because they don't agree with a particular thing. Because what the trans people and homosexual people fought for in the 90s, you've totally perversed. because now you believe you're being oppressed. And if that's what's the case, you wouldn't have gay mayors. You wouldn't have gay people or trans people being nominated or elected. You're far from oppressed. A lot has changed. But don't start saying people now has to change their views or you're going to cancel them. That's why the United States have liberty. And as I said before, as a Christian, I don't believe in the lifestyle. But I also don't believe in discrimination either. And you're always supposed to go at people with love, not hate. But yet, you always are filled with hate because people don't agree with you or people make jokes. Jokes been made about everybody. Right wing, left wing, doesn't matter. Some people just can't take a joke. And that's my opinion about it. What about your opinion? Like, share, subscribe, message me, if you want, or message us if you want at brothersofliberty76 at gmail.com. You can add comments in the comment section as well. But as I always like to say, this is the older brother Kelton, always reminding you what true freedom is and ought to be.